your predictions, your outlooks as well. And again, Gino, here we are once more. Event 2 for WWE in the books before we kick off Event 1 for AEW. And we have officially now closed the box for all possible stops on the road to WrestleMania. So how you feeling now that we left Chicago in the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, thank you so much, Noah. Really happy to be doing this once again, and looking forward to all the predictions talk and the stats analysis. It's going to be great. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from like last night was honestly that we've got 6+ weeks left until WrestleMania, which feels like an eternity in the modern WWE schedule.
Right.
However, I did have fun with the event last night, despite me not being a top scorer in the league, and we will get to that. But it was fun. I do like the multi-person stuff because the possibility of it going either way is better. Then you have stuff that's super predictable and you're just kind of waiting for it to be over, even if the content is good. So we'll get into all of that, but I had a fun time at the watch party last night. Me and my buddies get together and we watch it together. So it always brings more entertainment that way.
Yeah, it's always more fun and engaging to watch along with friends versus just your solitary audience of it yourself. And again, WWE PLEs, they are what they are. They might be 80% advertisement, 20% content nowadays in the ESPN app. It is what it is with TKO Endeavor and the business regimen of the WWE. But it still was fun to say the least. And to shout out again to Walter Cruz, always great calling shows with him. And I always have fun being the play-by-play guy, bringing the story, the analysis, and the action to those live that are watching virtually as if it was a radio show. So I enjoyed the little watch-along we had last night, too. And much like you and I were amongst the median of scores for not only the team, but the entire NoDQ Galaxy. So I figured without further ado, let's get right into it. And here you go, folks, with the entire team NoDQ scope. As you can see, Michael Peters was the leader of the predictions last night with a perfect score of 7. The overall average was about 5, as me and Gino legitimately tied both in score and in mind. This is going to be a weird one to say the least. And overall, pretty much it was kind of dynamic, primarily with the matches that matter the most, which is what I appreciate. Because in my opinion, what should be the most polarizing is what the show's about. The show's called the Elimination Chamber. So if that's not dynamic analysis of thought, then WWE isn't doing something right. As far as the other stuff, predictability is never a bad thing. Damn it. One of my simple thoughts of wisdom for predictions, analysis in the professional wrestling landscape. But overall, there you see it, Gino. Mostly 6 and 5s across practically, and this was 20 people, by the way, this time in NoDQ, when Kaz actually remembered to fill out the form. He forgot the Royal Rumble, botch on his part. But overall, pretty much everybody did averagely well. And yeah, the chambers, especially what happened on Friday Night SmackDown, certainly helped with adjusting people's dynamic mindsets.
Yeah, you mentioned what happened Friday. Like that's where we get into these. For me, at least, I'm always one of the last person to put my predictions in. You wouldn't be able to tell that based on the middling stats that I put up. But I do feel like a lot can be gained from the knowledge of SmackDown and what happened. And we will get to that, particularly with one match was super affected on the night before. So, excuse me, just looking down to break this all down. There's some things that jump off the page at me stats wise, and then my brain starts going into, well, why this, why that. First thing before we get into match by match, no shade to David Diaz. It certainly looks like he was riding what most of the betting and dirt sheet information was. With his picks. I did the same with a few of mine, but the Raquel Tiffany, because Rhea was third in the betting odds, so that looks like, Raquel was one of the favorites, which was interesting. Obviously, she had a great showing and things like that, but I look forward to breaking this all down, and I think maybe we should just start left to right and go from there. What do you think?
And it works for me. I mean, again, like the Royal Rumble, it started with a chamber, it ended with a chamber, and then you had the middle ground. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the more unanimous data, because as you can see, nobody gave Finn Balor a chance, considering right now the WrestleMania marquee is officially the OTC versus the best in the world. It was the only one actually that was probably the most unanimous across the entire 70 plus people that did the predictions this time, including Team No DQ. Only 2 people went with Finn Balor. No disrespect to Prince Devitt, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, original leader of Bullet Club, inaugural WWE Universal Champion. But the landscape right now in WWE does not have him booked to be the main event player. And in this day and age, the main event player, not named Roman Reigns, is CM Punk. There's no arguing that. So, in all fairness, you want to talk about predictability as a bad thing, this might have been the most obvious prediction so far this year in WWE.
And it might be the most obvious prediction for the rest of the year, to be honest. Now, the thing is after WrestleMania from May to August, I think that the CM Punk, Finn Balor, I think it would have been a little bit more split, because there is credence, there is logic to giving Finn the championship. Yeah, he only had it for one day, whatever, but he got hurt, which wasn't his fault, whatever. The company puts the blame on the person who gets hurt. I get that, but I could see storyline reasons for Finn actually winning the championship if his fight in Chicago after the Irish fight in Ireland, like, happened on the other side of WrestleMania and Punk is champion coming out of WrestleMania. I think there's a realistic shot that Finn Balor gets it. However, when you're going into WrestleMania and you have the option between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, which is clearly a night 2 last match of the night,
it better be,
or Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, which is like maybe middle of the card night 1. Like, no offense to Finn, it's just he's not on the CM Punk star power level. So this is what we've got. This is what people are looking forward to. I think that there would only be like Finn Balor's family would be the only people happy about Finn winning. So it was pretty standard. And plus the scuttlebutt online was that this is only happening because CM Punk wants to work with Finn. And that leads me, that makes the result of the Roman Reigns CM Punk match potentially predictable as well. But we will save that for 50 or 48 days from now. So however the math works out on that. But yeah, what was your thought process behind CM Punk?
Again, we're talking about Father Time. We're talking about CM Punk and his resurgence is coming back home to WWE. But the history with him and the tribal chief Roman Reigns, when Roman Reigns was nothing more but 1/3 of a special security force, not called SWAT. They were called the Shield. And the fact of the matter, also looking at matches we've seen versus matches we haven't, Roman Reigns and CM Punk have yet to go one-on-one yet in this day and age of WWE. He's never confronted the tribal chief one-on-one. With Finn Balor, we already saw that. Finn Balor, Roman Reigns has already happened. Remember, if it wasn't for an exploding rope, many people thought Demon Balor was going to dethrone the tribal chief during his Undisputed Universal Championship run.
Right.
I look at the fact that history doesn't necessarily need to repeat. And in this day and age of WWE, where they probably ripped apart the WrestleMania plan 3 or 4 times now with injuries and still second guessing, it almost feels like they don't want to go against the normal for the main event, but they want to try and explore more in the mid cards or the other events. If there's one match that I statistically believe is not going to be altered in any whatsoever going to WrestleMania as soon as it was made, it was Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. I couldn't go against what was on the marquee already. So that's why I went with Punk once again. It was nice to see Finn Balor, though, bring his best to CM Punk one-on-one in what truly was a match defined by respect. And maybe it will offer something new to Finn Balor down the line, but it's not right now Finn Balor's time. Can't go against Punk.
Absolutely. And I mean, this match really only existed again because Punk wants to wrestle Balor and potentially give him a rub, and it could branch off. Now, I said it last night, Dominic could come up to Finn and be like, "You're a loser, you lost, and you wanted to shake his hand." And then we could lead to the drama and the Judgment Day breaking up finally, in some people's opinions. For me, I think that, theoretically there's still mileage to be had with that. And without the Judgment Day, Finn Balor wouldn't have even been on television the last year and a half. So at least it gives people the ability to be on TV. So there is something to be said about that. But obviously, storyline wise, it wouldn't make sense. The only bad things could have happened. Like if CM Punk got hurt in this match and missed WrestleMania, had to relinquish the championship. Thank goodness we had somebody else come back who would potentially be able to do that. But I think that's maybe why they had this in their back pocket. Like if CM Punk gets hurt, we can put the strap back on Rollins and then do Rollins versus Reigns or something like that. Kind of like what they might do with the Drew Cody storyline on Friday, but we will get to that. Now, speaking of CM Punk and Seth Rollins, their respective wives had a match for the Intercontinental Championship. And Noah, this doesn't happen very often.
No.
You and I do agree sometimes pretty frequently, but when we both agree, we're usually not both wrong. Shout out to our awesome brains. But this time we missed the boat, as they say. Now, for me, I like to do a lot of last minute betting odds research and things like that. I like to watch the no DQ predictions video, which I forgot to do because it was so early it was so early in the week, and I kind of watched some of it live, but I didn't watch all of it live. I had forgotten something that Dave, shout out to Dave, he had mentioned the opportunity to pose with the title with CM Punk was now, right? Like AJ would have to win and obviously we know Punk's going to win, for them to both have the championships and pose with them respectively together. Because I do not see Punk winning, holding on to it at Mania, but you could have been like, well, AJ's going to win it at Mania and not win it here. And that's where my mind was. And I should have gone back and watched the review predictions video. Shout out to No DQ and Dave on that. But AJ was the favorite. But my mind was telling me, are they going to really have both CM Punk and AJ Lee win in Chicago? How often does the hometown hero win, let alone twice, let alone husband and wife? So I was like, you know what? I'm 2 points down already from last event. So I might as well try and go against the grain here because for all the information online available, they're going to have another match at WrestleMania. And I thought, okay, you know, if Becky loses it, and in decisive fashion, she can't really challenge again for it. But then I saw that Jessica Carr was the referee, and I knew that I was, as the kids say, cooked because it was going to happen. And then she tapped, but the ref didn't see it. And I was like, oh, wait, why do that? If Becky's not going to end up winning, you might as well just have her lose and do the screwy stuff or whatever. Having said all of that, I put my chips on BeckyLynch so that she could cheat to win, and AJ would have a rightful reason to challenge her again. Plus, it was AJ's first match back in however long, singles match. I thought maybe they'd be like, she's still got some ring rust, have that kind of going into it. But nope, they wanted to have the pose off. And as Aaron said on his review, they didn't even get the shot correct. So this is the second time in a premium live events in a row that they missed their shot. Liv and Roman both missed pointing at the sign when the fireworks were going off. Roman got it for like a split second. That's why they can't use that footage. And now they're going to have to probably find a still shot of them holding it up properly, looking at the hard cam because they missed the shot. And they deserve it because they made Becky lose and me look dumb. And Noah, you were also on the Becky Lynch train. Maybe you were thinking some of the things that I was thinking. I know you don't like to get influenced by outside factors. Where was your head at?
Oh, Gino, sometimes I just hate WWE with the way that they freaking outsmart me. I literally called the spot. She was going to tap. The consistent statistic with AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, she's to return every time they've been in the ring. She's tapped out to the Widow's Peak. I figured that they were going to fall that point here, but the rep was going to be bumped. Did not expect the rep to be Jessica Carr, though, despite the fact she's also been at the heart of the so-called controversy against Becky Lynch. And unfortunately, that factor played in as well and bit me in the ass. The tap out happened. I was like, okay, now I see what they're doing. They're going to follow my plan. So Becky's going to take advantage. She's going to get the win. And there it was. Damn it, AJ Lee kicked out. They followed my prediction on City predicting to the letter, except AJ Lee kicked out. Damn it. her first match since March 2015 that was a singles, her third ever match since returning to WWE, and her first singles since returning. I did not think they were going to pull the trigger. I still believe there is bigger things for the Women's Intercontinental Championship altogether at WrestleMania, considering who's all been surrounded by it. Natty eliminated Becky at the Royal Rumble. Maxine, AJ Lee, our friends. Maxine, former champion. Maxine feuding with Natty. It writes itself, but big-time basketball as champion and AJ Lee get in the moment, or Natty get in the moment, made more sense to me because I feel like you do that type of stuff in a fatal four-way at the grander shows. Exhibit A, Dominic Mysterio last year winning the Canal Championship. But yeah, bottom line, I was really expecting them to follow the ploy that you tapped out, but you don't win the title. They did everything I said except gave AJ Lee the title. I didn't think Becky was going to lose. I thought they were going to push this out to be at WrestleMania. And it bit me. Straight up. You called the external factor, talking about data, outliers, the wild factor here, Jessica Carr. It's interesting how Jessica Carr stopped Becky from throwing AJ Lee in the exposed turnbuckle, knowing it was there. But while Becky ran in, she didn't block Becky from colliding into it, and then AJ trapping her in the Willow's Peak again, already with a compromised neck with that whiplash, tapping her out. As far as I'm concerned, Becky Lynch was screwed, and so were we.
Now, at the interest of sounding, not sounding like sour grapes here, I will defend a little bit. Jessica Carr wasn't as close to being able to stop that second attempt, right? Yeah. So there's that, but it still adds to the Becky doing her specific type of internet complaining shtick. I'm not going to say who it's supposed to be compared to. I will let you guys use your higher level thinking for that, but she will find, even though she technically was screwed, but she wasn't. This is their way of saying she was screwed and she's going to go after it. She already posted that Jessica Carr, like you said, Jessica Carr stopped me from doing that, but didn't stop AJ from doing it and those types of things. So in all caps, so we know what that's similar to. Now they're going to use this as the way to get her the match. And I think Dave had a great point in the video and also in our chat room. AJ being part-time, she's going to be there. All the part-timers come out of, they dust their mothballs off and come out for WrestleMania season and then go away usually after WrestleMania season. So that is probably the most telling thing, like besides her and her husband holding the championships on the same night. Like that's this was all like a package deal. But I thought in the back of my head, WWE was going to do their thing where at least, have her lose and then CM Punk win so that they could at least be happy. And for
split down the middle, 50-50, Chicago, hometown. The hometown hero doesn't always win, though they do win more statistically in the Paul Levesque era. I didn't think it was going to be 2 for 2, though, with a couple from Chicago. Damn it.
Right. So that was difficult, like you said, and we were not happy about that. Now, before we get to the Elimination Chamber matches, I just want to say that the Jericho point in the box is one of the issues that I had faced during the Royal Rumble predictions, that Jericho was going to be there. But until I see him removed from AEW's roster page, again, like Aaron said, I'm not betting on Jericho doing anything because obviously Danhausen is the one who was in the box. Super underwhelming, but like if they're going to utilize him in a way of like he's a comedy guy who is a supernatural comedy act that can stay in a box for over a week and get shipped back and forth and yada yada yada, like okay, well, I'll give them a chance. But he looked like he did not belong. Like they brought him from like a different industry to do this. And I really think that the Danielle Hausens, I guess we'll call them, the girls that came out before Danhausen, I thought that kind of killed the thunder. It should have just been Danhausen, right? So that to me kind of came across as Rosebud-y, kind of Funkadactyl-y territory, and not in a good way. And so it was underwhelming for me. How did you feel about that? Obviously, you predicted no Jericho, and I'm assuming for the same reasons.
And of course, Jericho's still on the AEW roster page. Yeah, I'm about to say, Danhausen, very nice, very evil. He does have connections with CM Punk, going all the way back to when CM Punk once have spent $9,000 on comic book stuff for him. I don't know whether or not Danhausen ever flipped that bill. But he's definitely a character. He definitely offers his own entertainment. But Danhausen being removed from the AEW roster page for Jericho, who was not removed from the roster page, it just didn't feel like to me that Jericho had any reason to come into this WrestleMania season yet. It's not like they're going to run Jericho versus CM Punk yet. It's not like Jericho versus blank makes sense in the current WWE landscape. Not even for the career killer, the legend about Gunther. And I think I already know what match waits for him, playa. But that being said, in the box thing, it was just something to just try and add more attention. And hey, it drew attention to WWE. The beauty of WWE and their characters is they don't mind getting bad publicity from the IWC. As long as people are talking about them and they're a point of conversation, they know they're getting attention. Attention equals profits in the WWE landscape, no matter what the price is. And it's justified with how much people probably are going to buy to see what Danhausen does or if he becomes a dud. I'm happy for the man. Again, I don't give a damn where you work as long as you're happy with what you're doing. But execution as a fan will always be the critical way to judgment as far as how I follow you and how I interpret you. With WWE, I always proceed with caution. Hello, Naomi. Good for Danhausen, but I knew there was no chance in hell of Chris Jericho showing up, or I might as well be singing Usher shirtless.
Well, it's an interesting way to put that for sure. So we only had one person who guessed that incorrectly, Jerry Slaughter. He's probably still following the same mindset that I had, where it was like Jericho, it needs to be showing up sooner or later. But again, he's going to have to be removed from the roster page for me to, it's funny though. One of the people I was doing the watch party with was like, I heard Moxley's coming back to WWE. What if it's Mox? And I pulled up the AEW roster page, and this is on me as an AEW fan, but I had forgotten he's a current champion. So there ain't no way he's showing up at an event while he's the current champion for an AEW, not the champion, but
I'm about to say current champion, current face of the company in a way between the light and the dark, current trainer, current faction leader. Hey, isn't it ironic that the Vision somehow has turned to vapor, but the Death Riders are still alive and well with two of them as champions? I'm just saying. Yeah, Jon Moxley is not leaving AEW anytime soon unless there's a significant reason behind it. And right now, there is not one iota. He and Renee Paquette are extremely happy right now in their roles in AEW, and seems like they got more personality in their lives than ever, both in and out of the ring.
Yeah, and the running joke with Moxley is like, if he's not getting color, he's not going to do it, and WWE is pretty anti that right now. So if Moxley's having fun doing those types of things, trying to rip people's earlobes off and syringes or whatever, drowning people, like, he's obviously going to stay where he's getting paid probably more than he would be in the WWE. But I do see him coming back eventually. It's just, like you said, not going to be any really time soon. But yeah, it would be a huge... I don't think he's got it in him to avoid a potential Hall of Fame or two Hall of Fame nods, one with the Shield and one as a solo competitor. So we'll have to see. Now, you had mentioned in the AJ Lee Becky Lynch discussion that WWE loves to prove us wrong. And speaking of proving us wrong, it was
the real business.
Straight up stated by Triple H regarding the men's Elimination Chamber winner. So we will be discussing that now as the segue. So he almost was like patting himself on the back during his interview, not in front of the crowd, mind you. I think that's very telling that he declined to do that, or whatever, didn't decline. I'm not saying he said no, but he's not out there, and he's done it every other time, including at Royal Rumble. So he was basically like, yeah, I think everybody thought it was going to be Cody, and it was pretty shocking when Randy won. It's like, that's really tooting your own horn. Going into it, looks like we both got this wrong again, but we did get the 1 point for Randy as our second choice. So, and having said that, we'll address and when we get to the women's, but we were tied here again. All signs point to CodyRhodes, right? Drew McIntyre has been screwing him left, right, and center. And
Accurate.
We probably should have seen that being an ability to happen in this match as well, just due to the fact that that's kind of the story that they're telling. He's clearly trying to stop Cody from getting his match. And as was said on the review on Tuesday, I believe somebody super chatted it in that they keep threatening Drew with these consequences, but they're not giving him consequences for breaking those things. Now, finally, they're giving him a consequence, and now he's going to potentially, probably, if I had to bet, lose the championship to Cody Rhodes on this Friday's SmackDown, and in some type of screwy fashion, which will then lead to him and Fatu and all of them getting in. Maybe even Fatu screws Drew, and then they go off and do their own thing, while Cody versus Randy could be a one-on-one match, especially if those seeds that were planted last night bloom before WrestleMania season into a heel turn with Cody Rhodes. Like when he comes out and he gets all fired up and he starts calling people the B word and he starts calling people out, like he feels less vanilla and it feels more natural for him, in my opinion. So I would love to see him as a heel. At this point in Randy's career, he's never going to be heel again. He could come out and RKO all the men, all the women, like CM Punk was saying last night. I got GTSs for Raquel. I got GTSs for everybody. Like Randy could GTS or could RKO every single person in the company, and he wouldn't get booed at all. So he's never going to be a heel again. So the opportunity to have this Cody Rhodes heel versus Randy face, which is a match we want to see. We did get it last year, but now we get it where it's not like, what was it, the King of the Ring tournament or something like that?
King of the Ring.
Yeah. So, and I think, or maybe that was against Gunther that Randy's shoulder was up during the pin or whatever.
The first one where Gunther won the King of the Ring, went on to SummerSlam and beat Damian Priest. Yep, back to back in Saudi Arabia. There's a statistic for you. Randy Orton has been screwed.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Randy's been saying things like, it's time for me to get my 15th title. It's time for me to get to my 15th title. Like, if Cody doesn't turn heel between now and WrestleMania, like, he will definitely turn heel after. And we might get the rematch of Cody and Orton at Backlash for the title in Tampa, which I will be going to. Already got my tickets, son.
Good deal.
And they weren't that expensive. I mean, $163 after the Ticketmaster fees for 200 level. That's not that. In an actual arena where the ring will be in the center, not at home plate when I'm in the outfield when I'm paying $360 like at Royal Rumble. But I digress. So yes, all the scuttlebutt online and all the signs in the storyline were pointing to Cody Rhodes. The betting odds were Cody Rhodes. I would have predicted LAKnight coming in, because if you watch my video, another cheap plug, Major Push Wrestling, I did about 2 weeks ago. Go check that out on my channel after this, of course. You'll see my dream matches for WrestleMania. Dream, obviously not that dream matches, because I'm not talking about people like Stone Cold and The Rock going at it one more time or anything like that. But I really thought that a Drew McIntyre versus LAKnight WWE Championship match could have stolen the show potentially and been a great one-on-one thing, and have Cody versus somebody else, Randy, because it doesn't need to be for the title. But go check that out, guys. I think you'll really like that. So I was thinking LAKnight, but the betting odds were too good on Cody and Randy, and the justification for it being Cody was obvious. The justification for it being Randy was, he keeps teasing us with he's going to win his 15th now, just like Sami Zayn keeps teasing us he's going to win his first. That doesn't mean they're going to win it, but it does mean that they're going to be in a potential title match sooner rather than later. So that's why I picked Randy as my number 2. Really regretting not flipping that, like it seems like Michael Peters and Cass both did, where they had Cody as their second bet, and they potentially took a shot on Randy there. So what was your thought process on this one, Noah? Obviously incorrect, but not all the way incorrect.
Like you, not all the way incorrect either. I look at WrestleMania and I'm like, okay, Cody and Orton, how do you not have these men involved with the championship? Cody Rhodes has been Mr. Consistent main event WrestleMania since WrestleMania 39, lest you forget. The first time since I can remember him being WWE right now. he doesn't have a clear road to WrestleMania. And Randy Orton and Cody, their legacy has yet to finish their story. And the last time that Randy Orton took on Drew McIntyre was when Drew was the champion back during the pandemic, and the roles were reversed as heel versus face. The constant other statistic, as you pointed out, is Drew McIntyre has done everything he could to make sure that CodyRhodes would not be a factor. But you only can push a GM so far when they realize that I'm the boss of you. I don't care what your value might be to me as champion. You push, you push, you push. You prod the bear, you're going to get your face clawed off. And Drew McIntyre very well might get that this Friday. I've definitely come out surprised, but man, that's the most PO'd I've seen Nick Aldis since he's been the GM. He went Adam Pearce on Drew McIntyre. And personally, I loved it. For me, though, I look at it like this. The last few years have teased the idea of Cody going heel. I never will go heel. Mr. Homelander, Mr. Face of the Company, represent, rise above hate, never give up. It almost feels like they're trying to make him this generation's John Cena. How many times was John Cena ran back against the same opponent at the marquee? Clearly, they don't want to do that with Cody, or maybe not in the same way, because this is the first time now that Cody is not 100% certain for WrestleMania. But he is now certain to challenge for the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre, where he might get that chance. As far as Orton and Cody going all the way back to 2008, again, the last one-on-one, Cody won. So Orton owes Cody a defeat. And this right here, the chamber, there are no friends. He took the opportunity and he won. For me, though, I look at the fact that right now, what is the biggest selling point for WrestleMania based on the current roster and based on the fact that I know they're going to focus on the veterans in the World Championship pictures. Case in point. I had to go with Randy Orton or CodyRhodes here, but I almost want to believe that WWE is going to try something different. Like I said, I think they're trying to keep the focus on the veterans, on the big names in the World Championship pictures, but they're trying to mix it up, keep us guessing, and take a chance on others in other championship pictures. So I had to put Randy Orton down as one of my two, but again, how do you go against consistency? That's why I had to go with CodyRhodes as primary. And it bit me in the ass. When I was looking at this chamber match, I didn't think it was going to come down to Orton and Cody in the end. I personally thought it was going to come down to Cody versus LAKnight because I think LAKnight is due to get his comeuppance, and maybe he could take a pipe bomb shot against QB1 himself to put him up on that card. Because personally, I want to see LAKnight get that moment. Our friend Heather Lynn that we interviewed last night for Paul Media, she was very apoplectic about one LAKnight. Once again, the gravy train denied. Doesn't even get off the rails or out of the station. Kind of pissed off about that. But yeah, if Drew McIntyre does not defend this championship or be involved in the Undisputed WWE Championship match at WrestleMania against either Cody and or Orton and or Fatu, then WWE is definitely doing something either completely wrong or completely new. And I hope it doesn't bite them in the ass. You can't go against right now Orton and Cody based on pedigree alone in WWE. That's why I had to go with both of them. But yeah, I regret putting Cody as primary. Damn it.
You know, the thing with the Elimination Chamber versus the Royal Rumble, it's the first two events of the calendar year, and it's some of the only events in the entire year where predictions get multiple choices, a secondary pick.
That's
or
correct.
A tertiary pick as it relates to the Rumble. Obviously, there's more people to choose from, which is why we get that. Now, with the Rumble, that third pick can always be a wild card. For me, it's always a wild card because the first two I'm fairly confident in, and that third one is like if they decide to JeyUso us, right? Like they did 2 years ago. So where it's, you know, people were picking it was either going to be Roman or Cena. Everybody thought it was Cena. And then it's JeyUso. So, like, that's third spot is reserved. Now, it looks like there was only – well, I would count LAKnight as a potential dark horse, but not really because he's been, like – he's overdue. But Walter was the only person who really – and I'm trying to get into his head. I feel like he was thinking, well, this is going to be my wild card pick that they could potentially go with in the Trick Williams spot. I am very, very, very high on Trick Williams. Him coming out first got a pop out of me because you knew the crowd was going to get into it, bro. He is he's like the walking definition of $1 million bill. Like without all of the like pretentiousness that would come along with it. Like he's got cockiness and swagger and aura and you buy it. You're not like, oh, this guy thinks he's better than us and he's not. Like that you're like, this guy thinks he's better than us, and hot damn, I believe he is.
If
So
Booker
I
T
just
was put in a time capsule and pushed to the moon as a superstar of this caliber, it would be Trick Williams. It's insane right now what sort of star power this guy is leveraging in less than 2 months on the main roster.
Yep. And he's fighting that uphill battle, sort of. Some may call it a downhill battle because he's technically a heel, but he's able to say things that people are enjoying him saying. The lemon pepper stepper is hilarious and something that people want to chant. The whoop that trick, obviously. I mean, they're even chanting that when he's not on the show and he's not in his segments.
It's becoming its own. It's becoming its own phrase. People used to like the woo or New Day Rocks. Now we're probably hearing people do whoop that trick before our shows go live. It's becoming its own thing with fans.
Yep. And that was the big thing with LAKnight a few years ago when I went to the events, even AEW events, we'd be rocking through the building with everybody saying, and then everybody would chant. And the same thing with Seth Rollins' theme song. Oh, those are things that if you're ever at a live event, when you're walking to and from or in the crowd, but in between when it's quiet and stuff, you can get a chant going with one of those because you are surrounded by people who love wrestling and want to be a part of it. So, you can't go to the bar and do that. You can't go to the mall and do that. But when you go to one of these shows, man, really enjoy it because it's great. And with that said, one last thing about the kind of the WWE title picture as a whole. For me, Jacob Fatu has fallen off. He has. What justification does he have for being in the title picture other than thinking that Drew is the one that took him out? But for what everything Drew has ever said since fans came back has been true. He hasn't lied to us once. He even when he had the opportunity to lie about CM Punk's injury, he said, "No, I prayed for it and it happened." And I actually believe that because say what you want about camaraderie and locker room teamwork and how wrestling is supposed to be coworkers helping each other come to work the next day. I do believe when CM Punk came in, there were a lot of people that were like, nah, this is going to take away from me. And that's what happens when somebody of that caliber comes in. They do take away from you. Do I think anybody's thinking they're going to lose time to Danhausen? Probably not, even though they will. But when you got a guy like CM Punk coming in, or a guy like Randy Orton coming back, or a guy like Jericho coming back, or a guy like even Edge coming back, you're going to kind of be pushed down that ladder. And with Jacob Fatu, he's just he's just lost it. He's become like a catchphrase machine and all these types of things. And it's frustrating. Now you mentioned LAKnight, his spots on the turnbuckle. I hate to be that guy. It was pretty bad. He's very lucky he didn't tear a knee ligament or something like that on the landing, but I don't blame him for slipping. Obviously that ring rope was slippery. He didn't just slip because he didn't have balance. He slipped because it was wet, because everybody's sweaty and they're touching the ropes. And Finn Balor also slipped and almost broke his neck. They made it seem like it was some type of kick, but no, he just fell and almost broke his neck in that same turnbuckle. So whatever they do, WWE needs to do a better job at
conditioning.
Maybe use in that part of the rope area, maybe a coarser material than just the slippery, waterproof tape or something like that. I don't know. And
again, we talk about before, though, this business, you're always on the edge of a lightning bolt between disaster and perfection, and especially when you go high risk. But I also do think that they don't use the same ropes for every occasion. But clearly, these ropes were not fully up to conditions because it was a repeated thing. It's just also one of those things, about Fatu. You know how I think about triple threats, buffer, fall person. If we get a fatal four-way, it's buffer, fall person, extra. If this WWE Championship becomes a fatal four-way match, I almost feel like Fatu is just the extra right now. Because to your point, he's got potential, but he's got no real build inside the story besides who done it. We already know the who done it when it came to the Masked Man, as we learned during the Men's Chamber, who's been the downfall of the division as Seth freaking Rollins returned. To your point, that freaking Men's Chamber broke down in a freaking hurry once Trick Williams and Jay Van Evans were bounced out of the picture, and they're the two newest superstars on the scene. Ironically enough, Jay Van Evans, nobody picked at all, and Logan Paul, well, that's a whole nother story in itself, because talk about changing the sub-tangent. I don't want to say you're in a spot that is a no-win, but just look at the spot, the JeyUso spot. You talk about JeyUso being the 2025 WTF. Logan Paul was in the JeyUso spot. In my opinion, he had no chance of winning this. Great performance, but he had no chance of winning this. It's just one of those things right now where, environmental hazards aside, there is still a consistency to WWE that really keeps the predictions the way they go sometimes. And here it bit us. But I am glad that nobody was hurt. But yeah, Trick Williams, how is he bigger than Carmelo Hayes is beyond me. When you thought Carmelo Hayes was going to be the guy, and wow. And this guy's supposed to be a heel wearing some fur jacket, and he might be one of the most pompous babyface that people can't wait to get a picture next to at WWE World. And again, in the world of wrestling, do you boo heels anymore? No, you don't. It's the cool thing to cheer them now. It doesn't matter whether you're heel or face. We appeal to you based on either your character or what you do in the ring. And whatever Trick Williams is doing, he is right now becoming a favorite of the WWE Universe.
And I am right there with him. I mean, we could talk about how Carmelo maybe isn't doing the best, even though he's a Boston guy. And, so naturally I gravitate towards that. But, the real true heels kind of are gone in this era, except for Miz and Gunther. And honestly, I cheer the Miz because I think he does great work, but I will be booing Gunther any chance I get. You know my history with John Cena, so he would be like,
there's a personal bias behind that choice.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be cheering him because you're gonna watch somebody who's gonna wrestle like a top 5 ranked WWE 2K player in the world, and Gunther is arguably a top 5 wrestler in the world right now. But like, you're trying to win. You're targeting specific body parts that your submission works to. You're rolling out of the ring when it suits you. You're doing these types of things that are very competitive and not just performative. So, and we're not too much longer on this, but I was talking about how Drew doesn't lie, and if he's saying he didn't attack Fatu, he didn't attack Fatu. So Fatu's really just inserting himself into this title picture with no real basis towards that. So I don't feel like he belongs there. I didn't think he belonged in the U.S. title picture either. Like, he's supposed to be this type of monster character, and I would love for him to not be as articulate and not be trying to talk so much and just be more action based. But at the end of the day, we could probably be getting Drew versus Aldis. He already pushed him a year ago, and Wade Barrett had to get involved. Or Sheamus, one of the two, had to get involved. Maybe it was both of them had to kind of get involved with that.
Let's see. A year ago, Drew McIntyre pushed. It was Adam Pearce. I know where your family lives. And Wade Barrett saved Drew McIntyre from being fired. Wade Barrett, the voice of reason for Charlotte Flair and Drew McIntyre, who've blown a gasket this last year alone. You're not wrong. But yeah, also to that point, much like Jeff Meacham said, Nick Aldis never said that I'm done with the boots. Adam Pearce is fine in his current run, has no desire to get back in the ring ever again. He's part of WWE2K26. Congratulations to the former WWE World Champion. I would not rule out Nick Aldis versus Drew McIntyre happening either. And I would love to see that WrestleMania as a marquee. But again, do you do that because you just want to get the championship back to Cody? And do we need Cody going into WrestleMania again as champion to finally get Cody versus Orton? There's a lot of stuff for WrestleMania right now that's not cut and dry. And I hope the execution does pay off, but I would still proceed with caution right now, especially this Friday night. And again, JeyUso mysteriously taken out Friday night. Jacob Fatu, apoplectic. Jacob Fatu taken out a few months ago. Is there no video cameras backstage? We got no real footage of this. You guys are going to keep us lingering about this. We knew the masked man had to be suffering in Rollins. This is a more whodunit than anything else right now in WWE, and I'm still confused by it.
It seems like there's a lot of these, again, and I'm not going to blame Triple H for it because it's very clearly a TKO thing, like, keeping the board happy, trying to force manufacture beyond what wrestling is supposed to be doing, manufacturing this tension, like really trying to manufacture a reason for people to go to your shows without actually having a reason to go to the shows. Granted, I bought tickets to a show. I have no idea who I'm going to see at. But the price felt good enough, so whatever.
And you're a fan.
I am a fan, but I'm not a fan of wasting money, right?
I do hear that.
And one of those things where we talk about, they're doing stuff with CM Punk and AJ for a shout out to City by the Bay. He's one of the goats there. where they're doing a hometown crowd thing to appease the people in attendance more than, you could argue it's more appeasing for the people there than it is for the people watching. I know for me, I was, regardless of how good they wrestle, I was kind of just waiting for the CM Punk match to be over, just because we knew that it wasn't going to happen. Like, it just wasn't. But with that said, they pulled the wool over our eyes, gave us Randy Orton, and they're just going to switch it to Cody on Friday, and Triple H is going to pat himself on the back for that. We have 6 weeks till WrestleMania, so we will see what happens and where they decide to go with these things. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Aldis versus Drew. They have time to build that up. And he actually said on CVV, who's the top interviewer in the game, that he's not done. He's actively would like to wrestle, but that Pierce is done. Like, he would have wrestled Pierce probably a year or two ago, which I would have been interested in that match. But Pierce is fine doing his thing. He gets the same paycheck whether he straps the boots on or not. But I think formerly Magnus still has some in the tank, and he is a big man, like a big man. So it's not like, Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. It's going to be something visually better. Now, we're going to move on now to what was not the main event of yesterday's evening, but it was the main event of our show here right now. This is the thing that Noah and I both predicted correctly. We had the same number 1 and number 2, RheaRipley winning to face Jade at WrestleMania. For the last couple of weeks, Jade has been getting in Rhea's face. More than Tiffany, more than Asuka, more than Alexa. She's been hovering around these people. She's been getting into Michin's face more than she has Raquel's face. So I didn't think that was going to happen, even though the odds were that she was the favorite. And I think that those odds come from the fact that Liv Morgan and Raquel could potentially both walk out of WrestleMania as the champions. But to me, Raquel should have already been the women's world champion, and Liv should be challenging her. I think there's way more in it than, Liv getting made to cry. So whatever with Stephanie Vaquer, I'm not a Stephanie Vaquer hater, even though I'm starting to kind of become one. No, even though I get it, she's great, whatever. But for me, Raquel has come a long way, has the better story, and she should already be the champion. So I was not going to put her as my number 2 because I feel like they would have given her the title anyway. Like, there's no reason to have her be in a championship match, heel versus heel. That just didn't make any sense. Rhea got pinned last night, or Friday night, the night before the event. She got pinned and lost the tag team championship title. So the only way to not make her look like a weak person in traditional WWE booking style was to have her win. And it's also the biggest match that they can do. So those 2 factors alone for me were enough to push the needle to Rhea, even though Tiffany Stratton was the odds-on favorite kind of before all this stuff happened. So that was why she was my number 2. Again, we can't go wild cards. If we had a third, I would have picked Raquel. And she did have a great showing. But we only have 2, and you got to pick the 2 most likely people that will win and that make sense storyline. And those 2, Rhea and Tiffany, were the ones that made sense storyline. What about you, Noah?
For me, if you're going to make Jade Cargill have a match worth the Women's SmackDown Championship that has been worth less than pennies made out of sink, you need to have the right opponent for her, and you need to have somebody that can work with her to a degree. It's one of those things where it was about the Giants. It had to be Tiffany Stratton, where Tiffany and Jade define the later half of 2025, or it had to be the biggest bout you could do in WWE between Mommy, RheaRipley, and Jade Cargill, or you see if you can finally break out Raquel, who once had that magic back in my NXT when she beat Io Sky for the NXT Women's Championship. No offense to Asuka, Kiana James was the biggest wild card. Like, okay, she's here. How the heck you get here? And the other person Alexa Bliss, excuse me. But it's just one of those things where, when RheaRipley had the strap, she didn't need it. As soon as I learned she lost the strap, there's a reason for it. They had nobody else with Jade Cargill on that roster, and clearly, like I said, they don't want to run back what they did in 2025. So we'll see what Tiffany Stratton's future does hold, considering she doesn't have a tag partner, and she defined Tiffany time as the SmackDown Women's Champion before she was injured. As far as Raquel goes, I think Raquel is on the verge of breaking out, and I think the Chamber was a great way to prove that, to remind people what she's capable of, especially that double pin spot. That was beautiful.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things, though, that right now, based on the circumstances, the star power needed for WrestleMania, and trying to make the championships feel important, they ran the course of the tag titles with Rhea, which was fun. You need to put Rhea Ripley back where she belongs, and that is back on top. In this case, she's been removed from the World Championship now for literally, folks, a year and a half. Now let's see what she can do if she can clear the storm. Mommy was just the right choice here, despite the compromise back. If Rhea Ripley didn't win, this could have been the wild card segment of the night where you would have got Raquel versus Jade, with the only context being, can both female members of the Judgment Day leave WrestleMania as world champions? Honestly, that would be an interesting statistic to think about. That could happen, but it had to be Rhea, or it just was not going to work for me at this point. When she lost the title, it was Rhea immediately. No offense to Tiffany, who again, Rhea and Tiffany concluded the chamber. So in our context of predictions, it all made sense. Tiffany and Rhea were the right two choices.
Absolutely. And speaking of the right two choices, I think, first of all, I'm a Nia Jax apologist, so feel free to at me. You guys will find out where at the end of the show. And also, if you've been watching for any amount of time, at me, and I will be happy to educate you in an aggressive fashion why you're wrong about hating Nia. Now, Lash Legend, though, is she's for me, I love monster heels, whether they're male or whether they're female, period, in a discussion. So these irresistible forces, which maybe their names, maybe the tag name isn't the best, but it's Nia's kind of nickname, so they work with it, whatever. I'd rather it be something like that than New Catch Republic or Quarter Catch Crew or something, baloney like that. Anyway, so they were the right ones to have the tag team titles. Alexa and Charlotte are very clearly going to be fighting each other at WrestleMania. And so it wasn't going to be Alexa last night. So sorry, Colin. I love Alexa Bliss as much as anybody other than her husband on the planet, right? So it's going to be, I wanted her to win, but it wasn't going to be her.
I mean, if Alexa Bliss won, it would be David versus Goliath. Let's just call it what it is. She's the shortest participant in the chamber.
Right. But a goddess is capable of many, many things. She was not going to overcome Jade, and it wasn't going to be a big star match because she needs to lose this connection to Bray Wyatt with her outfit and the doll and all that stuff. I know she really hasn't had the doll too much, but like we need to get back to the goddess type of stuff. Now, Tiffany would have been a good choice because of Jade's connection to her. He should beat her for the title. I'm not sure what happened with Big Daddy V. Maybe he passed away. I thought it was a while ago, but maybe it was just recently. If that's so, RIP regardless. Never like to hear about the people, passing away. It's always unfortunate.
Right.
And one of those things that, your brain has a difficult time discerning between people you watch all the time on TV versus people you hang out with in real life. So there is that level of loss, even if you didn't know somebody particularly. But moving on here, Kiana James pinned Alexa Bliss. So we all thought Kiana was going to be the first one out. For me, I don't get the hate about Kiana James either. Like, is she the best in the ring? No. Is she a good person to kind of pair up with Julia to help Julia? No. But to have her be spoken for and things like that, like Julia obviously needs somebody to she doesn't need, but she needs somebody to talk for her. And Kiana James is got at least a gimmick of like, I'm a badass, like I'm this like boss, be like girl boss, whatever
she's a
type of character.
Since Jada's NXT, that's always been her gimmick, though, to be fair, my friend. She's been a businesswoman. Her only accolade was she was formerly a NXT Women's Tag Team Champion with Fallon Henry. But even I will give credit where credit's due. Royal Rumble, she was one of the longest participants. Elimination Chamber, she had a strong showing, and they both were her first. But also, let's just give credit where credit's due. It was Asuka that poison missed Alexa Bliss, and Kiana James took advantage. It wasn't like she did any significant finish. The most significant thing that happened to her, she was double choke slam bombed by Raquel, who got a double pin on her and Asuka. Raquel was MVP.
Absolutely. For sure, Raquel was MVP. And, one of those things that if she was the first person eliminated, then it would have been like, okay, like they really don't have any plans for her. They were just called her up. But clearly, more than somebody like Kehlani Jordan, more than somebody like Jada Parker, like she actually has a gimmick enough and is good enough on the mic to speak for somebody who usually lets her wrestling do the talking in Julia, but they haven't really been booking Julia properly. And I don't think that that's Kiana's fault. I think that that's WWE's fault. And I'm just going to speak frankly, the hiring of Stephanie Vaquer's fault. I'm just going to call a spade a spade.
I mean, you know what? JJ would echo your sentiment here because the problem was both Stephanie and Julia came in at the same time, but Stephanie got the rocket strapped to her, maybe for some of the simplistic reasons versus wrestling reasons. But nonetheless, she also has gotten English quite well, and she's just gotten more over with the audience. They did not put that same appeal into the booking of Julia, and it's bit Julia in the ass ever since coming up, in my opinion, prematurely from NXT when her and Roxanne assaulted Mommy RheaRipley and Io Sky, and we all saw how that all fell out. It's just one of those things right now that Julia is literally lost in the shuffle with a mid-card title that has no value since Chelsea Green lost it. And Chelsea Green's out injured, and she's still more over than Julia.
And she's also still on television and taking bumps, mind you. Like
Right,
Friday Night
right.
SmackDown, she took a bump, different kind of bump, but, a physical altercation or physical
Just give
spot
Chelsea
is
Green
a
the
bump.
championship. Who cares if she's injured? Give her the championship. It's
And,
the Chelsea belt.
Remember, on WWE Unreal, Michael Hayes said that, she is never going to be a world title holder because she does so good in her current role. But The Undertaker on his podcast, 6 Feet Under, so all these guys got podcasts now. Some of them, whatever. If people want to listen to them talk and we want to hear their opinions, sometimes it's in interviews by being interviewed. Sometimes it's when they're interviewing other people. But he was interviewing Michael Hayes on his show, and Undertaker's like, I'm just going to put in my 2 cents. And he was very calm about it. He's like, I think she's got all the tools. I think she's an it. She's got the it factor. I think if she has a little bit more of a mean streak, she could be a top player. And she could, because her gimmick works as this presidential person, whether she's from Canada or not. Like, it's a good gimmick, and a good gimmick goes a long way with talent. And granted, I'm still upset at The Undertaker for suggesting that Gunther needs to be more cowardly. And I think that led to him eventually tapping out to JeyUso, and that kind of all borderline ruined his character. And that same person with a ruined character retired John Cena. And then I say he's killing careers, but he really only killed AJ's career because the other guys were retiring, whether or not Gunther beat them. So it really doesn't matter. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But,
The
Undertaker called them out on that. So that was good.
Just much to your point, though, Mr. Doot, and, the dead man, now the gatekeeper of the Hall of Fame. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. We don't have to agree with all of them, but there are some logic and sound arguments. And then there's other, observations or opinions that I'm like, why the hell are you thinking like this? And yeah, with Gunther, he lost to Jay, he lost to Punk, he took a hiatus, he came back, he beat John Cena, he smiles and laughs now that he's the career killer. The Ranger, now the career killer. I mean, I guess he's getting heat. So, there's his rejuvenation, I guess. But again, WWE right now is in a weird state where they need to rebuild the top of their rosters. And apparently it starts with RheaRipley maybe clearing the storm that is Jade Cargill, or making Jade Cargill seem like a valuable champion. It takes more to be a valuable player in WWE than posing with a title. Especially when your name's not Roman Reigns and you literally got in a cinematic storyline called The Bloodline for 4 damn years. Seriously. They have too many players in the wrong spots, and they have too many titles in the right spots not being used correctly. Oh, they got too many titles altogether, but that's a whole different conversation. To your point, City, there are 10 titles, and yes, there are 3 mid-card titles. Stay tuned for our AEW Revolution predictions post-mortem. I'll talk more about that, where most of those titles are likely to be defended. Maybe a couple will change, and I will talk about, again, too many belts. But nonetheless, this is a reset, I think, for the women's division. If Rhea goes back to being a singles star. Mm-hmm. But again, compromise back. Damn woman walked off the top of the chamber and plowed with a freaking swanton bomb to help double team Raquel with Tiffany Stratton's period moves on ever to eliminate Raquel. I'm just saying.
And she sold her back pretty well in that match. Now, I hear what you're saying about Jade. I'm also a Jade apologist. Now, I will admit she comes across as very rushed and very green in the ring still, which is frustrating for me as a Jade apologist. But Roman Reigns, we have to remember that Roman Reigns is the only reason he was able to hold the title for so long was because he would cheat to win and not give people rematches, and everybody just acted like he wasn't cheating to win. And it was frustrating for me. Yes, it was the best storyline going, and he needed to hold the title, but like people still say he was burying half the roster and he was cheating to win. So you might as well just had him win clean if people are already going to think he's burying the roster anyway. But I digress. It was still something that wrestling would not be the same it is right now, or arguably as popular coming out of the pandemic without Roman Reigns and his ability to talk during his matches when there was silence in the arenas because people weren't there cheering live. So good on him. And obviously good on Drew, and that these people are, some of the stars now. I hope Drew is able to be held in that higher regard. But the stuff that he's doing is super cowardly. But at the same time, he's just, it feels like turnabout's fair play. Y'all had the championship and y'all were dastardly screwing me over. So I'm going to do the same to y'all now that I'm champion. So at least there's long-term-ish storytelling there.
Continuity is the word you're looking for. And to your point, from the fighting champion to the cowardly champion, from A to B, it's definitely a contrast here. And Drew McIntyre is going to do anything he effing wants to make sure he holds on to this title. Now he's facing Cody on Friday. Who knows what the man's going to do? Hopefully he doesn't try and claymore CodyRhodes' head for a television on the announce table.
I mean, if he does that and maybe Cody gets some type of
connects this time,
rigid, like brain injury or something, or has some type of brain trauma, like kayfabe, of course, where he then is like not himself. He's more like natural and primal with his thoughts and type of behavior. That could be a way to turn him heel.
Yeah, come out of coma and be a freaking heel with black hair.
Like that, yeah, because he didn't have time to die. Actually, Noah, now I want that more than anything. And he turns heel when he comes back like 6 weeks from now, right? And he then screws Randy over or something like that to help Drew at WrestleMania. Yeah. And then we get whatever, something like that. But that's the type of storytelling I can sink my teeth into, and that the wrestlers can sink their teeth into for sure.
He certainly did, City, by the way. And again, character reinvention is how you continue forward in this business. Case in point, Chris Jericho. But sometimes some gimmicks are better off forgotten. But yeah, what pushes Cody to the point of no return? He finally goes heel. That's when the audience will turn around on CodyRhodes. Because I do think people are tired of seeing QB1 always at center of the field, controlling the game. You know what happened when QB1, Patrick Mahomes, and Mr. Lane actually tried to control the game? They both lost the biggest game of the year. I'm just saying. Sometimes you literally think you're above everybody because you feel you have to be above everybody, and it bites you in the ass. Maybe CodyRhodes is finally getting a piece of humble pie, and maybe Friday will be the death note to that if we're fortunate.
I did think there was a slight possibility that his fate, like he would have attacked Randy after the match, and that means we'd have John Cena turning heel at Elimination Chamber last year and Cody turning heel at Elimination Chamber this year.
Yes, exactly.
That could have been a way to do it, but it seems like all signs are pointing to Cody beating Drew and Cody versus Randy at WrestleMania, and so we will have to see what happens with that.
Right.
Now, you and I both got 5, like you said, middle of the pack. Very generous of you to put us beneath some of the other guys when we could have easily been the top 5s, but now we're towards the bottom.
Yeah, whatever. I show no bias. I show no bias to everybody. You know that.
You fight with honor, and I respect that. Honestly, the AJ Lee match was the one that really messed us over. You could argue that the CodyRhodes, Randy Orton thing was also what got us, but 2 points were on the line there. So you see the person with the highest score got all of the stuff right.
You got a perfect score, Michael Peters.
And that was it's very impressive. And the talk online was, Randy saying he's going to go for his 15th. So that could have been exactly what it was. Thank you so much for stopping by, City. Yeah. So there's the breakdown, man. So this is we won 7, few 6s, few 5s, couple 4s, 1 3, but you're never really out of it because there are those multiple man matches and there are those multiple choice matches like the Money in the Bank match. Mm-hmm. And potentially Survivor Series things, War Games with who starts the matches, things like that. So we have plenty of, you're never really out of it until about, towards later in the year. So
The
let's
second
see
to
how it
last
all
event.
breaks down.
So yes, let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboards now. As we are 2 events in the WPL League 2026. The High Rollers in the red, and the rest of the people are in the gray. And right now, Aaron Riff is in first place, followed by Caitlin, me, and Steve tied for second. Dwayne, Uthman, TJS in third with 14. Gino, you're just outside the top 3 score brackets with 13 with your buddy Gilbert. So again, it's still a very tight race. You see 1 point gaps all the way down the line. Of course, shout out to the 40+ you in the Galaxy, as right now Rob Grieg is holding things down in first place also with 16. So the Galaxy and the team are right now at the same high overall. And again, good luck to everybody. I hope they continue simply predicting. As of course, WWE, we now go to the show with the most matches of the year because it's 2 nights and it's the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania 42. Headlined by this, Lord help us.
Absolutely. And we've been doing these on Sundays after the one-night events. Obviously, we will not be doing this on Sunday after WrestleMania. So catch us that Monday after WrestleMania. Thank you to everybody watching live or on demand. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's in the Predictions League. We couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you to Noah, because we actually couldn't do this without Noah. So thank you to everybody. You're giving us fun things to talk about. Thank you to everybody who showed up in the chat. And don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section below, whether on Noah's video, go check him out on his channel. We'll do our plugs in a second. Or whether you're at my channel, don't forget to give us likes and subscribe. It really means a lot to us. And share to us, did it go the way you thought? How would have your predictions broken down if you were in the league and aren't right now? It's still not too late to get in for the non-money portion of the league. So all these types of things are open, guys. And we really appreciate your support and viewership. It's why we do this.
Damn right. For the love of professional wrestling, statistical analysis, post-show outlooks, and again, simply predict. Of course, I simply predict for WWE, NXT, TNA, ROH, possibly AEW, and we even got a GCW league going. Of course, we'll be back with predictions most more for the first installment of AEW, because we all want to see what's next for our scumbag, along with some other stuff, and talk about 2 main titles. Again, in AEW, different conversation. Stay tuned, post AEW Revolution, folks, and of course, NXT. And Gino and I will think about it. We'll think about it for you. Vengeance Day, of course, kicks off the NXT league. And of course, again, WWE, WrestleMania 42. Buckle up, everybody. And TNA, of course, if you're part of that league, sacrifice the next event bout on there. And stay tuned with JJ and the GCW Collective for the next event of the GCW league. But again, keep following along with us for all the post-show analysis, statistical breakdown, and of course, at the end of the day, just have fun simply predicting.
Absolutely. So we'll go around and do our plugs. Again, you can catch me on my channel, Papagino0017 on YouTube. Technically, the @ is at YT-Papagino0017. For the time being, I'm working on getting it switched. I had an account made when I was like freaking 14 years ago where I posted a video about egg whites, and that has my true @ Papagino0017. So I'm working on switching the ats around. So just come out to just put in Papagino0017 on the YouTube search bar, and you'll find this lovely face talking wrestling, talking predictions, playing Rocket League, talking movies, doing a bunch of fun stuff. I really appreciate it. And also on the No DQ review, shout out to the No DQ family and the reason that Noah and I even know each other. So thank you so much for that. It's a lot of no's. Gino, Noah, No DQ. We are the No family. So Noah, where can the people find you if they're not already watching?
Say no to negativity with that form of no, folks. But that being said, if they want to find me, I'm not that social. I'm introverted, but I'm not that hard to find if you want to be part of predictions or discussions. And Fox 916 on the X and on YouTube, primarily, where, of course, I am nothing more but a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. Again, we do these post-show analysis, predictions post-mortem. I, of course, host the moderated conversation of predictions. For City Predicting. Again, this week coming up is City Predicting NXT Vengeance Day. The following week is AEW Revolution. and we'll be covering those shows. Of course, I am the lead play-by-play voice of the Super Reliable Studios. If you haven't already, follow Super Reliable Studios, follow all of our affiliates, of course, and you can also follow along with all of our updates at SR Studios 2024. If you haven't already, please keep following along with us with the reviews of the incredible talent for Mania, the all-women showcase to kick off the entire festivities of WrestleMania week that Wednesday. And our interviews will culminate with Izzy Moreno on April 4th, as well as in San Antonio the following week. So again, stay tuned each Saturday if you can for further details on who we interview from Mania. Again, shout out to Heather Lynn, who we just interviewed last night, the ring announcer for the promotion. Of course, you all can still get your tickets for this incredible all-women's wrestling showcase. That is Mania. You can find it at Everbright. There will be a link in the description down below. I have a playlist of all the interviews we've done so far, as well as a link to in San Antonio, the promoter, as well as the Mania Everbright site. So again, if you're in the Las Vegas area or you want to look for some all-women's wrestling that covers all facets of women in wrestling, please check out Mania during WrestleMania week. But as always, I'd like to conclude when it comes to my outlook on all things wrestling too. There are no winners, there are no losers, there are no betters, just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too. Treasure your families and gesture of life, and enjoy professional wrestling. It's truly as simple as that.
Yep. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching. From Gino, from Noah, or G-Noah, the No Guys, whatever you want to say. We really appreciate it so much. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, folks. And again, the Elimination Chamber is officially filed away for 2026. We'll see you for Revolution and then WrestleMania. But in the meantime, goodbye.